Hello there. What is going on, everyone? We have had a roller coaster of the past 24 hours, and we actually recently got a statement from Atomic Mass Games. So I'm going to share that with you guys. I want to give you guys a little bit of time to get into the live chat. So a little, if just in case you guys didn't catch my live stream yesterday or haven't been on social media. I normally I do just scheduled uploads and a lot of that, but I wanted to do live streams just because I think this is a good opportunity for us to interact and have some back and forth. And this situation is just unique, and what's happening right now has never happened before, not on this scale for these games. So. And hi, everybody that's coming in and joining us. So, brief recap. Yesterday, we were had a bomb dropped on us that Atomic Mass Games, creators of Marvel Crisis Protocol, which I keep in a cookie tin behind me here. Great game, by the way. Are assuming production and development of all of the Star Wars games, at least all of the Star Wars miniatures games. And specifically three, Legion, Armada, and X-Wing. Now, this was huge. This was a huge surprise for a lot of people, and there really wasn't much news put out about that. We learned that that Will Schick is taking a creative director type of position, and Simone Elliott is moving from FFG to a lot of you are. We got a lot of people joining up. We looked at Simone Elliott is moving over, and she is taking over as head of studio for Atomic Mass Games, which is a very good thing, I think. For the Star Wars fans among us. But there's also this whole announcement and everything related to it was so unexpected that it had a lot of people asking a lot of questions. And I did a quick live stream yesterday because we didn't know much, and I wanted to come back with another live stream today and talking about what little we've learned over the past 24 hours, which isn't much. And there's bad news that goes along with this. There is bad news, but Atomic Mass released a statement today. It was kind of in the form of like a Q&A, and it's it gives us not much information, but a little bit. And I'm gonna read it to you guys, and we're gonna kind of react to it and talk about it because I've still got more questions. Yeah, so some people talking about it being sad for Christian Peterson. It does. I guess I'll save my opinion and stuff on a lot of this for the end. But overall, I'm not as super happy-go-lucky as I often am right now. And this isn't because I'm doom and gloom. This is just because I am exhausted. We got a super chat from Gordon. Gordon, wow, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Gordon asks, hold on, what games do you think Atomic Mass Games could produce now that they've said there will be more games? Well, that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about, but since you wanted to be so kind and support the channel with a super chat, I definitely think more Star Wars games are in the works. I think it seems like the most likely thing. For there to be more Star Wars games. I think my hope is for a smaller scale warfare game, maybe in the scale of X-Wing, maybe even smaller, but I want to be able to recreate the Battle of Hoth, and we don't currently have a way to do that. So that's one thing that I'd like to do. I also wouldn't mind getting a slightly bigger miniatures version of Legion with much fewer characters, basically in the style of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Like I wouldn't mind Star Wars Crisis Protocol. uses the same rules as Marvel Crisis Protocol, and it's just Star Wars characters, like just heroic characters battling it out, and allow that to be compatible. Like it doesn't have to be under the same umbrella, really. But I mean, but if you make it a compatible game system, then that would be really fun for homebrewing. Wolverine versus Darth Maul and stuff like that. So like I would love to see stuff like that. But let me go ahead and read this notice. And Atomic Mass Games posted this to social media earlier today, and we've had some time to absorb it. So no, how are we gonna do this? All right. So basically, it says. Yesterday's announcement that Atomic Mass Games, AMG, will be taking responsibility for the continued development of Star Wars X-Wing, Star Wars Armada, and Star Wars Legion represents an exciting development for miniatures games in a galaxy far, far away. We spoke, I don't know who we is, I'm assuming this is people at Atomic Mass Games. They said, we spoke with Atomic Mass's Simone Elliott, head of studio, and Will Schick, head of product development. I almost said project development, head of product development, to gain more information on what fans can expect in the future and for more background on the factors leading to this reorganization. This is really only like 3 questions, and we get some answers. So again, it's a short little article, but at least it's something. So here we go. First question. Let's start with the most obvious question. It's funny, like most obvious is a little different for different people, but it's a fair starting question. Fantasy Flight has launched and maintained 3 incredibly successful Star Wars miniatures games. Why move to Atomic Mass? Simone answers, in a word, specialization. Moving to AMG gives us the perfect opportunity to develop our miniatures games in a studio devoted entirely to miniatures rather than board and card tabletop games. It's a place where these specific types of games can truly thrive. Will answers, and that devotion Simone mentions, our singular focus on hobby miniatures is fueled by our team's lifelong passion for creating great games. Combining that passion with the incredibly solid foundation laid by the team at Fantasy Flight is basically like bringing balance to the Force. We have the tools and we have the talent to build on that foundation and take these miniatures games even further. So that's the first question. I'm gonna move right along, and then I want to touch on some of these. Does this mean, next question, does this mean we should expect changes to X-Wing, Legion, and Armada? It's a good question. That's a very good question. Will answers here. One of Atomic Mass's core philosophies is that there is no finish line. We see ourselves on a lifelong journey of learning and improvement. That's a pretentious way of saying yes, quote-unquote laughs. If we're doing the job right and staying true to our ethos as a studio, changes will most certainly happen, but those changes will always be in service of making great games even better. I should also point out that any change process will always be measured and highly considerate. These games have a solid fan base made up of people who have invested their hard-earned money and, more importantly, their time and creativity into creating armies, squadrons, and fleets that are unique reflections of who they are. We are a studio made up of people who love and engage the hobby daily. We deeply understand the kind of investment on a personal level, and that kind of investment on a personal level, and we're committed to honoring and valuing it in everything we do. Final question, and I'm going to come back to these. Final question, does that include new Star Wars miniatures games? Can we expect to see any additional titles? Simone answers, we are hyper-focused on our current games. While we're hyper-focused on our current games, we're always thinking of new ones too. Will and I have talked a lot about how we can create cool new Star Wars miniatures games that will excite fans and immerse them in the stories they love so much. Will goes on to answer, the galaxy far, far away is a really big place with a lot to explore. It doesn't take Emperor Palpatine's Force abilities to foresee that this is just the beginning for Star Wars miniatures games. And then for more, check out, all this stuff. So basically, we learned that Will Schick has lots of bad Star Wars puns, but that's okay. Like kind of dad joke Star Wars puns. But I think the big two main takeaways here is that yes, they will eventually have changes, and there's probably at least one new game in the pipe, maybe multiple new games in the pipe. Whoa, we got another super chat from Gordon. Thank you, Gordon, for the super chat, buddy. I really appreciate you. Gordon asks, do you think? There we go. There we. Do you think this move comes now means an AT-AT will come to Legion? Actually, I think this means an AT-AT will absolutely not come to Legion at this point. That's my guess. Now, this is just a guess, because of the fact that they mentioned new games. So let's talk about new games first. They've kind of hit on most of the things that they could do. What are the things that are, like what kind of battles do we see in Star Wars Legion? Or I'm sorry, what kind of battles do we see in Star Wars that could show up on our tabletop? And I think we've got all of those as far as miniatures go. We've got we've got duels, in that, like, Vader versus Luke and things like that. We can see that in Legion. We've got, like kind of bigger battles. In Legion kind of covers like a scale there. We also have dogfighting, big part of Star Wars, and that's covered robustly in X-Wing. And then we have fleet battles. And while X-Wing kind of started to do that with a little bit of the huge ships coming in, the real fleet battles are really handled by Star Wars Armada. So how do you add new miniatures games into that without overlapping other things? And I think that's an interesting question. So the only answer, I mean, there is the possibility of having, a game focused on individual duels or very like smaller skirmishes, smaller than Legion. But I think that that's still going to overlap with Legion, because you can just as easily just do Legion hero battles. You kind of already have that. The Legion minis are already great. You could scale them up a little bit more into like Atomic Mass Games' Marvel Crisis Protocol scale, but still that's a small difference, and I don't know if it's really worth doing a whole new game over. So like that could be a thing. What I think is more likely is the one vehicle that we have not seen yet in any of our Star Wars games, and I'm talking about the Star Wars miniatures games, that's the AT-AT. It's the AT-AT, and so I'm just making sure I haven't missed anybody. Well, there's a lot of questions, so I'm gonna try and get to some more questions here in a minute. So I appreciate you guys all jumping in with the questions. I appreciate you guys all hanging out with us. If you're just joining us, Atomic Mass Games put out a statement today that really kind of gave us two key things, that they're considering more games in the Star Wars miniatures line, and more and potentially making some changes to the existing games. So I'm talking about the more games thing first, and that an AT-AT kind of represents a type of battle that we don't have, and that's like Armada but on the ground, right? Like those large scale ground battles. We kind of have that in Legion a little bit, but Legion's kind of at this weird in between kind of place. Now, I know a lot of people liked Imperial Assault. I don't know what they're going to do with Imperial Assault. I don't know who is going to be coming back, to work on that. And like there was a plan a year ago or so that Imperial Assault was not done, but who knows right now? I don't know what's going on with Imperial Assault. That's kind of one of my questions, and I certainly have questions for Atomic Mass Games, which maybe I should put all of my questions for them into a dedicated video. Maybe I'll publish that later this week, because there are more things that we need answers to. I don't know if they will answer that many, but that's one of the things. So I feel like if they wanted to do maybe a game that's either in 10 millimeter scale or even slightly smaller, it would be, I mean, obviously it would have some overlap with Legion, but it would be really cool to have like really large battles. Now, the problem is there's not an overwhelming amount of stuff you can really do with those really, really large battles. You've got the AT-AT, which is the biggest thing that needs to be in a game like that. But the Empire doesn't have an overwhelming number of other really big vehicles. Now we're starting to see some more vehicles, like the Mandalorian's going to be able to show us some more vehicles. Like we've got that troop transport, for example, and but all of those things could also show up in Legion. And Legion is a beautiful scale, so that is certainly an aspect. But I also think if they want to move into the sequel trilogy timeline, and look, I get that that's not the most popular topic of conversation right now, but at some point it's going to become a thing. And if you look at Episode 8, you had a big ground battle there too. And let's face it, those mega cannon walkers or whatever they had, those gorilla walkers, were way bigger than an AT-AT. And so you have to make room for really big ground battles. And Legion is just at a scale it's not going to work, right? You could potentially get an AT-AT in Legion, and I still would love to see that. But I think, thinking long term, you probably need to say, like, what's the biggest thing we could ever want to put on the ground? Maybe even have a ship's land on the ground or whatever. Like, but I want to be able to recreate the Battle of Hoth or Crate. Maybe not Crate specifically, but I want to be able to, right? And I think a game that's built around trying to recreate the Battle of Hoth needs to also allow for room to do even bigger walkers, because the AT-AT was not the biggest walker they had. You also have the AT-ACT from Rogue One. You also probably want to have planes, and probably want fire support. You probably want TIE Reapers and stuff flying around, dropping off Death Troopers on just like you had in Rogue One. You probably want U-wings being able to land. These things are too big for Legion. I feel like they are. And then, as some of you guys are talking about, the Clone Wars gives us a whole new world of ground battles, of huge, big, like juggernauts, for example, ATTEs, ATPTs, and like all kinds of the wheeled Hellfire missile things. And I mean, you've got so much of this stuff available in Clone Wars as well, that it seems like that'd be a really fun war game to have. Now, granted, it could be a board game that just happens. Like I don't know, I don't think they're going to do that though. I think they're going to make it straight up a miniatures game, and it'll be also really interesting. Like, I'm curious, like, if they do something like that, what will be the production method? Because Star Wars has had some success with going with painted, pre-assembled minis that you can just open up the box and play. You don't have to do anything to them. Versus now Legion was a step in a hobby direction. Atomic Mass Games' Marvel Crisis Protocol is definitely a hobby game. You have to, clip minis off the sprues. Oh, we got a super chat from Maldus. What's going on, man? Thank you so much for the super chat. And the question here is, X-Wing miniatures, Armada, and other Star Wars miniatures games might be fine, but Fantasy Flight Games is pretty much done. I don't think their obscure IPs like Twilight Imperium and Android will keep them afloat. That's a hot take, man, and I kind of agree with you. I feel like, I've heard some people say that it looks like Asmodee wants Fantasy Flight Games to just be completely disassembled. I've even heard some people say, I wonder if Christian Peterson still gets royalties for things sold under the Fantasy Flight Games name. And wouldn't that be a funny, interesting reason why they want to disassemble it while keeping all the games intact? Like, they moved... Look, this is the third thing that's been ripped away from Fantasy Flight, just off the top of my head. And there's more than that, because like there was other licenses that have been killed, like the 40K, the Games Workshop partnership, that all kind of went away. And at the time, I think we all thought, it's like, oh, it's because they're going to make Legion. But it might not. They might have started to make Legion as a result of that. But also, if you look at, the RPGs got taken away. This was a while back. All the RPGs ended up going to another studio, Edge Studios. So Star Wars RPG and all that stuff is now gone. But it still exists. It's just it doesn't say Fantasy Flight Games anymore. All of these packs that we've been seeing that used to say Fantasy Flight Games on them are now going to say Atomic Mass Games. So like now all of the Star Wars mini games expansions and stuff. You know how they also used to have the type of sleeves on the back it was like Fantasy Flight sleeves, orange, Fantasy Flight sleeves, blue and whatnot. That's also gone because look, like they always say, what is the what's the sleeves that you need to get, but now they all say Game Genic, don't they? So they also ripped away Fantasy Flight's sleeves and accessories department. So this is like the third thing, and this one's definitely the biggest one to be taken away from Fantasy Flight Games, and it's a doozy. Like honestly, if you like Twilight Imperium, you better get that expansion like the day it comes out, because I don't know if they'll be reprinting. Like if Fantasy Flight shuts down, a lot of the stuff that like get it while you can. It wouldn't be the first time like a beloved game just kind of went end of life and then you couldn't. It stopped being reprinted and stuff like with the Battlestar Galactica or the different things like that. So yeah. Hi, you love my Boba Fett video. Thanks. I got the mask right here. Got a couple of them. There's more coming too. More coming for that. All right, so. As far as other games, that's kind of my thought process. Is I think there's two ways they could go with it. They could kind of go for a hero-centric skirmish game, and I think if they do that, make it in the same scale as Marvel Crisis Protocol, have it use the same basic rules system to where the games you can pitch the same battle of one against the other. Gordon is chiming in with another super chat. Thanks, Gordon. Gordon is asking, what are your thoughts on the rumors of Alex Davey leaving? It feels very sad. Someone who was deeply involved. I'm not gonna. There's things that I know. There's things that people have told me, and I've talked to some of the developers themselves. Some people are no longer with the company, but I'm not going to name any names, and that's people's personal life. So I'm not going to get deep into that. But anyone who was let go, anyone who is no longer on board, dude, we care about you. I care about you guys. You guys have all had a deep impact on my life, as well as everybody who plays these games. And, my standing offer to everybody who finds themselves, looking for new work and, lands maybe somewhere else or whatever happens, if you guys are ever working, if there's anything I can do, let me know. If you're working on a new game and you need some hype for it or promotions or reviews or whatever, reach out to me. Let me know. I will be happy to help you. And this goes for everybody who works on all of these games. I try to continue to support these creators and these developers and the people who have worked on these games, because you guys are amazing, guys and gals. I appreciate everybody who's worked on these games, and a lot of these individuals I consider friends, and so it's really a shame. But I'm not going to go into any specifics on who is making the transition and who's not making the transition. There's a lot of things that are known. There's a lot of things that are not known yet, and it's people's private and personal lives. So I don't want to really get into that. If they want to talk about it with you guys, if they want to make it public, then they can make it public, and that's their business. But I don't want to spill people's personal business into what I do here. Not without their blessing. So we are going to kind of move up to their second question, which is talking about changes to X-Wing, changes to Legion, changes to Armada. I know there's a lot of questions. A lot of you guys are asking about changes and what do I think we're going to see in the future. This is a tough question, and it's one thing that I just really don't know. All right, I have more questions than answers. But here is my take on their answer about changes right now. There are some things that are just canned responses that have to be given. I like the way they were candid here. I do appreciate their candid responses that, yes, honestly, there are some things that are likely to be changed. There are some things that absolutely may be changed. It would be foolish for them to say, we're taking the helm of all of these games, and we're never going to change anything, right? Like, of course you can't say that. So it's a safe response to say what they said. However, I also have to kind of read between the lines. This wasn't, an off the cuff gotcha question. This was a planned question. They specifically, like it was an interview of, for and by Atomic Mass Games was interviewing themselves here. So these weren't like, it wasn't like me interviewing one of them or something like that, which I do want to do. By the way, Atomic Mass Games, if you're watching, let's try and set something up at your earliest convenience. Let me know. I will work around the schedule with you. I totally would be very, very happy to interview you guys and try and get more information out to people whenever that is ready to be given out. But I do expect there will be some changes. Now, the scope of the changes and things like that is what I can't really predict. I think the safest answer right now is that they will continue with development, and in what they would deem a good way. And sometimes that involves making changes. But you have to ask yourself, how is that different than the way the games have already been going and have always been going? X-Wing has seen so many changes, so many erratas. X-Wing has seen an entire second edition. So X-Wing has had a buttload of changes. I think they still need some more too. Like my biggest gripe on X-Wing is that, hey, if I want to fly Wedge in an X-Wing, I've got to dig through a 5-gallon bucket worth of cardboard chits and find that one. And they're all double-sided, by the way. So I may find the one, but it's flipped over, so I don't even realize it. Find that one that goes into his thing. Like, I hate that. Like, of all the things they could have changed in 2.0, they couldn't have just come up with a universal base for an X-Wing. It's not like pilots have different firing arcs, So I was so annoyed with that. Anyway, that's one thing. And a lot of questions about Alex Davey. I'm not going to talk about Alex Davey. I'm friends with Alex Davey. I had a discussion with Alex Davey, but I'm not going to share his business with you guys. I'm sorry. I just want, if he wants to talk about that, he can talk about that. But let's see. But yes, so X-Wing's been through a whole lot of changes. Legion gets changes. Legion's actually getting ready to get one. Legion is getting ready to get a change. There's a points update and errata and rules reference update. I believe is maybe out this week, maybe next week, maybe it might be out Friday. That's kind of when the expectation is that it would be out Friday, but I mean we'll see. Things are a little crazy right now. And Armada's getting ready to go through a huge change. The Clone Wars is showing up. We're getting a whole new card expansion, Rules 1.5. And all of these games sometimes follow a lot of the same types of changes as well. Like, for example, Armada is moving to kind of this system where they don't put as much waste in the packaging. Like, they're not going to be giving you... they know that people who are playing the game have, hey, for example, take a look at X-Wing. Think of how many focus tokens you have by now. 1 billion of them, right? So, by the way, get yourself some metal tokens, right? Go to luxuryplaystyle.com. Use code Crabbok VIP, save 15%. But no, seriously, you can look at all the stuff that comes in Armada expansions and so much of it just goes straight into the bin, right? Like, I have a huge bin of all the extra plastic and cardboard and stuff so it looks like they're getting away from giving you all of that, and they're just selling, hey, look, just buy this one pack that's going to have all the extra dials and tokens and stuff that you're ever going to need, instead of putting them in every single expansion. I think that represents a good fundamental change moving forward, and it would not surprise me if that sort of thing shows up in games beyond just Armada. I mean, look at this is just a handful of the last couple of Legion packs and stuff. I don't need all that cardboard. It's all waste. I'm gonna probably just throw it all out. Honestly, a lot of the stuff now, I just take the cardboard, throw it straight in the trash. I just don't need that much. I don't need that much. Most people don't need that much. It just makes so much more sense to just have one cheap little cardboard pack that's got 10 tokens of each type. Like that's kind of what the thing they're doing for Armada. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make changes like that. There may eventually be some other changes too. Like maybe they'll switch up which factories are making certain things. So you might notice a slight difference in like the shininess of your plastic or something like that. I don't know. Somebody talked about that. Yeah, the silhouettes with Legion. That's another thing that will sometimes, like that was a change. We got, and that was only for certain levels of play, right? Like a lot of, you don't have to use silhouettes. We use silhouettes only sometimes. Like I use silhouettes in my games only if it's really close and we're like, I'm not sure. All right, let's check the silhouette. And that's and that's fine. But so, but I know some people weren't happy about the whole silhouette thing too. So it happens. Different material for clones. I don't know, man. Like maybe they'll reprint a lot of old stuff too. Maybe all the old stuff will get redone in like a new format. We don't know. Maybe one of these games will get a second edition. It is possible. I kind of hope not. I like the way that they're doing it with Armada and just like, hey, it's a rules update and here's just a card pack, and you can still use the old cards or just. I like the idea of a card pack though. I like card packs. I like the fundamentals change from having to chase a rare upgrade that's only available in one ship expansion. All of the games have kind of shifted to that. Silhouettes as a thing for Legion. I only have X-Men in front of me right now, but let's just say I had Wolverine out in front of you and you were attacking him, and I would hold a silhouette behind that represents, like, if you can see the silhouette, you can see him. Because not all minis are the same size and or shape, right? Like as Magneto has this huge base with all this fancy stuff on it that might, they don't want you to be like, hey, I don't want to run this guy because he's posed in an unfavorable way. So, yeah. So that's a thing. I have other questions for them, right? Like questions about like factories and production methods. Is like moving to a new studio give you more production, because it always has seemed like we've been hunting reprints for a lot of games, especially Armada, and for certain Legion things. I think the Legion things may have been tied to this. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the stuff that got delayed for reprints was because they wanted to start putting they wanted to start putting things on the back. Do I have merch? You talking about merchandise, like Crabbok merch? I do. It's down. If you're watching on mobile, there should be a little arrow down here where you can get more, like all the video links. If you're watching on desktop or something like that, or laptop, there's going to be a see more button down here, and you should see links for like masks, t-shirts, the Carbonite dice prison, the bad dice prison. I have a shirt, and I also have a bag for that. You can throw your dice in there, zip it up, and to punish them when they misbehave. All kinds of stuff like that is available in my merch store there's new things coming all the time. But a great way to get yourself some stocking stuffers for your sort of gifts for you and your gamer friends. So that stuff is in there. But yeah, all right. So also have a timeline question on all of this, because okay, Atomic Mass Games is taking over. All right, sounds good. We got 2 posts from Fantasy Flight today reminding you to, that Maul and Anakin or within the last 24 hours, that Maul and Anakin are still coming out, And so I'm like, okay, so obviously this isn't effective immediately, right? Like when does it stop? When does it start? Like we know that there's certain things in the pipe, right? I just got a pre-order shipping notice. I know like Maul and Anakin are shipping now, and then there's a couple more X-Wing expansions shipping next week. And so, like, there's certain things that are still in the pipe. Armada Clone Wars still coming. But what about those things that haven't started shipping yet? Armada's Wave 2 for the Clone Wars Wave 2. Or, what Wave 10 or whatever wave that is, right? What about Armada Wave 10? What is up with that? Is that still going to be January? I don't know. What about the other 3 Aces packs for X-Wing that were talked about but not officially announced, even though they were all on the distributor's website. So we all know about them: the Sky Strike Academy and the Scum and Villainy one, and then the Rebel one. All right, so the Rebels, Empire, and Scum are all getting an Aces pack, and at least presumably that's what it looks like from the sound of them. So like those have been in development, right? And those haven't been announced. And I feel like, all right, well, we're getting awfully close to having nothing in the queue for X-Wing, and they don't usually do that. So this was probably a driving force. I feel like my guess, and also what's coming after. Like, we still haven't seen a formal announcement article for Lando and Callus yet for Legion. That's kind of weird. So is Maul and Anakin going to be the last things that actually get released as Fantasy Flight games for Legion? What about the Separatist and droid, the droid and like the droid and Republic guys? Those are coming out in January, I think, right? So are they going to say Atomic Mass Games in the box? I don't know. So I'm curious, when does this all officially take over? Also, I'm curious who from each respective team is moving on. I mean, I have limited information on that, but a lot of that's still personal, and I wonder how many things aren't final yet. And so I would love for them to get to a point where they can be like, okay, announcing your Legion team, and kind of like do a proper introductions on the teams who is taking over. That's also, what about things that are in playtesting, like farther out in the pipeline? What about all of the development that's been done up until yesterday? Like, how much of that is carrying over? What if the development team isn't going over? Are you going to take all of their work and flush it down the toilet? Are you going to start over? Like I'm curious about a lot of that. And granted, maybe some of that information is stuff that they're probably not going to be able to give. And what's up with Imperial Assault? Another question that's probably more of a long-term question, more important for them to hear than I think for them to answer, because I don't think they can answer that right now. But that's like a big question of mine. Are you considering that a Star Wars miniatures game? I think you have to. Because I think there's that Hasbro thing, but maybe not. So those are some of the questions that I have. So any new news since yesterday? Yes, we were talking about, if you guys are just tuning in late, Atomic Mass Games put out a statement today, a few hours ago, and they basically said they will be making some changes at some point, but they said they would be common sense changes, and they'd be thoroughly tested, and they would make sense, and they'd be for the good of the game. And they also said that while they are focused on the games that they'll be, on these 4 games, like the 3 Star Wars games and then Marvel Crisis Protocol, they're also looking to the future for new games as well, and looking for new ways to bring Star Wars miniatures to our tabletop. So basically, it sounds like there's a new Star Wars miniatures game in the plan or in the pipe, whatever, something like that. And my guess, and I would love to see it be a small scale or big scale ground battles. And I think you could do that in X-Wing's scale. I think you can do that in the scale of X-Wing. I think it works. You might even be able to make it a fully compatible game that's fully playable with X-Wing, kind of like how X-Wing Epic. I have been campaigning for X-Wing ground battles for years and years ago, before Legion came out. Then once Legion came out, it seemed like X-Wing ground battles wasn't ever going to happen. But I think X-Wing is the perfect scale to make a ground battle game. You can still do all of your ground turrets. You can do all of your ground vehicles now, especially that you have the Clone Wars now. You can do so many of the bigger vehicles. They're going to fit on your tabletop. You can fit multiple AT-ATs. The Gazanti, which is only like this big, carries 2 AT-ATs, right? So you can get that. There's so many things you can do in that scale. And then you can also get your air support. Wow, we got another super chat from Gordon. Gordon, man, thank you so much for all the support today. Gordon asks, with Crisis Protocol, there has been a massive expansion schedule. This is true. Do you think all 3 Star Wars games will have a faster release schedule or slower? Well, I wouldn't put all 3 into the same bucket on that one. What I do think is, I think there will be some balancing, right? Like, I think it's the case of like this. Go into your house and turn on the hot water in the kitchen sink. It's going to on full blast. It's going to come out pretty fast. Then go turn on all the other faucets, right? Like, you're not going to have anyone that's like super slow, but they're all going to kind of go at a slightly slower rate of speed, because now all that flow is kind of equalizing. I think we'll see something in the way of equalizing. The games that are coming out too fast will probably come out a little bit slower. The games that are coming out too slow will hopefully come out at least a little bit faster. So in particular, my hope is that they slow the heck down with Marvel Crisis Protocol. It is a great game, but it's got so much stuff right now, I'm running out of room. And like, it's been out for a year. right? It came out in November. It's been out for a year, and it's already got so many expansions. It's got, I think, more expansions than Armada has. You know, that game's been out for like 8 years or something crazy. So, like they have a lot of depth in Marvel Crisis Protocol right now. They can afford to slow it down a little bit. They can cut their production down by half and still have one of the fastest release schedules in on the market. So, I mean, they could even go more than that. You know, I'm personally would love to see them only come out with maybe, you know, 6 expansions a year. You know, now as opposed to like 6 expansions in a month. Like they do like six. They did 8 minis this month, right? Technically 10 if you count Magneto's extra terrain pieces. Like it's insane the amount of minis they're coming out with for this game every month. So it's nuts. So yeah, I think they could slow down there a little bit. I think X-Wing's probably at a moderately comfortable rate. Legion's been at a pretty good rate. Legion has been pretty fast with its expansions. I think Legion can afford to slow down a little bit too, not too much, but a little bit. I've still got stuff I haven't run. Yeah, I still haven't run Staps yet. You know, and I still have a lot of and I haven't run the Republic ATRTs yet either. So I've got like more lists that I want to run. And with 4 armies already, and the possibility of sub factions on the horizon, again, I don't even know what's up with that. You know, because that was one of the things that they were talking about. I asked Luke Eddy about sub factions, and you know, he didn't say that it was coming very soon, but he was definitely talking about it and confirming that, like, you know, there's something in the works. So can't wait to see how that works. But you know, I'm curious if all of that stuff is going to happen. And you know, but the more factions you have, the more quick releases of expansions can overwhelm you. If you're like me and you want to collect everything, so that we may get to a point where I just simply can't collect everything anymore. Because I'm already at the point right now where I think like there's no reason for me to buy more than one of any expansion anymore. I've got so much of everything. I won't have room. You know, I have a small house. I am in my garage. This is where I film. Right, I'm in my garage, and it's we'll have to park in the driveway because I can't pull the car in the garage anymore. So I don't have a whole lot of room for all these games. So a first world problem, right? I'm not. What am I? Well, I'm not really trying to complain. It's just an interesting thing. You know, picking the games that I've chosen to cover and them, lasting a lot longer than I thought they were going to last. I continue to cover them. Armada, though, is the rare case that could use a little bit of a pick me up. Granted, well, I'm personally feeling pretty good about where Armada is getting ready to be. I hope that it doesn't go back to where it was like a year or two ago, where we only get maybe 1 ship a year. That's baloney. I'd love to get 4 ships a year. That would be nice. That would be a good kind of raid. Just turn your garage into a minis library. Yeah, it kind of already it's becoming that. Well, between that and then all the helmets and collectibles that I've been getting, I'm running out of room to put helmets and lightsabers and stuff like that too. So I think if I have to make any cuts, that might be one of the places that I go to do it. Probably have to like sell. I'll have a helmet sale. I'll have a Crabbok Kickstarter and for next year. And if you pledge beyond this, you get a random helmet and or lightsaber or something like that. Oh, that would be funny. But yeah, so we're having a sit down chat, and I think I think I've said probably all I can say right now. But I'd love to hear more from you guys. If you're watching this later on, let me know in the comments section what some of your questions are. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of the chat. There was a lot, but we had a statement from Atomic Mass Games today, and I wish them luck. I am concerned about the people that have had their lives affected by this. I'm concerned about the health of the games moving forward, but I'm also optimistic. I really like Crisis Protocol. I'm also concerned about all the organized play stuff because organized play is hard to do in a year like 2020. We may not be until April. I mean, I don't even know if we'll have Adepticon next year. I don't even know if that's going to even be a thing. It may be Gen Con until we can actually have conventions again. And honestly, we've had so many pushbacks, I'm not even betting on that at this point. So yeah. An Armada wave every 9 months is good. Yeah, it depends. But we're going to have 4 factions in Armada now. So You know, like maybe the size of the waves changes a little bit. You know, like if we can average out to about 4 new ships a month, I think that's kind of, or a year, or one wave a year, but then also throw in a cardboard expansion like a card pack and or a campaign expansion. Those are cool ideas also. But yeah, my heart goes out to the people affected. So hopefully there's some way that I can help you. You know, my email address is on the back end of my channel, so you guys can reach me there if you know, you or anyone you know has lost work as a result of this. You know, I wish there was more ways that I could help. I wish I was a big enough channel that I could hire people. You know, I wish I was successful enough that I could like make my own game and hire some of these devs and be like, we're starting the Crabbok Gaming Lightsaber Nunchuck Studios. Well, I'd probably get sued if I did that. We'll just call it Nunchuck Studios, right? Something, or Double Crit, you know, or whatever. Like, I'd love to be able to do that and provide places for these people to land, you know. But, you know, all I can do is what I can do. All I can do is all I can do. So if I can help promote a new project you're working on or a game that's coming out or something like that, you know, I mean, I'm happy to do that. All right. For now, though, looking to the future about all of these awesome games that we love, I think they're, you know, if this was going to happen, if this was definitely going to happen, I'm glad that Simone is at the helm. You know, Simone Elliott is super cool. She's a big Star Wars fan. I think and she's worked with these games in licensing for years and years and years. So, you know, I think we're in good hands, and I'm optimistic about that. And also, I mean, honestly, Marvel Crisis Protocol is super fun. I haven't done a whole lot of battle reports on it. I haven't really been able to play much this year. But like the minis are beautiful. I love so much about that game. I love the system. I feel like all the games are going to be in good hands. So I'd love to bring you more as I get it. It may be in the form of a pre-planned video, or it may simply be a live stream like this where we can interact a little bit. So I will be bringing you more. I want to thank you guys for watching today. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. In the future, also, I am going to continue to work on what to buy first videos. A lot of you guys have been asking me about what to buy firsts. I've updated I've got some updated X-Wing what to buy first ones. I released a Republic one today. I have a Separatist one that should be out tomorrow. And I realize I have already done ones for those factions, but they've had so much new stuff since then that I thought it was appropriate. I am going to be working on the Legion updated what to buy first guides. Those ones are most out of date. And then after that, I will be doing Armada. I'm probably not going to do Armada what to buy first for Clone Wars because there's not enough out there. There's not enough that's even coming out to really justify it. You know, just get the starter, get a squadron pack, and get the card pack. You know, like you're done. Maybe get 2 starters because I'm probably going to get 2 starters. But Legion is next up on my priority list for what to buy first guides. We're getting into holiday time, so hopefully everything's going to be fine. I'm optimistic. I will be with you guys every step of the way. So, you know, I'm here for you. All right, guys. Also, I'm looking at hosting some painting competitions soon. So if you haven't already, hop in my Discord. I think we might do a painting competition for Maul and Anakin when those come out. So that'll be a fun one. And I'm thinking of awarding for the winner. You get like a custom Discord rank and color. You know, plus we'll have special channels to be able to look at some of those painting things. Also, probably we'll do something like that with the Armada Clone Wars stuff, because I know some people like to repaint their Armada stuff. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. But painting champions will probably get their own rank. That's one of the things I've been looking at. And the 12 Days of Life Day are coming up. More on that in the coming weeks. I will talk to you guys later, but I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And get those Thanksgiving plans made. Get yourself a turkey now. Don't wait till the last minute and it's still frozen. Right? If you're in the United States and you're doing Thanksgiving, if not, you know, have a good meal and appreciate your loved ones that are near you. I will talk to you guys later. Always be kind to one another. Always. And daylight savings time is literally a bag of farts. It's actually worse than a bag of farts. We need to get rid of daylight savings time. You guys, see ya. Have a great day.